Is this the end of the not in my backyard crowd? Let's have a look. Good evening, everyone. Florian here, and welcome to another episode of Heiser Says. Grab your stein of coffee. I've misplaced mine at the moment. And let's have a look at an article that was sent to me by a viewer. It's addressing the, well, not in my backyard crowd. You know, the people who will be complaining and moaning about social media and really wanting to implement government policies and taxations to address housing affordability, and the government will just flood the market with more money and then make housing more expensive. You know them. Yeah, yep, we've all heard about them. And then they'll protest. They'll protest the very housing that's being built to make housing more affordable because it's medium density. They don't want that near them. They don't want their neighborhood to change. They want the house they got for $40,000 in the 80s that's now worth considerably more to stay exactly the same. But let's look at this one, because this is a good one. I like this one. What's going on here? So this is from The Age. Nosy NIMBYs to be silenced on housing projects. Neighbours are said to be blocked from lodging local government planning objections against medium-density housing projects, provided that developers agree to include a portion of affordable homes in their proposals. So not only are the NIMBYs going to have to put up with medium-density developments, they're going to be really pissed off because it's going to be those dirty, affordable housing people. Oh, we can't have those. They have to be somewhere else. Not in my backyard. The Andrews government. There you go. So this is one. Good on you, Dan. Housing and planning overhaul, due to be unveiled next month, is set to offer developers added protection against potentially costly battles with councils and resident groups in the Victorian Civil and Administrative Tribunal. But in exchange, the government will require developers to include a fixed proportion of quality affordable housing as part of a plan to add an extra 1 million homes to Melbourne's existing suburbs by 2050. Now, this is just an old-fashioned... I mean, I've got books here on planning theory, town planning theory. This is part of the strategy to propose to influence development, to have mixed availability of housing, provide developers with greater square meterage that they can build, greater height that they can build, if they provide public amenity. This is what you want. This is sensible. While the policy is not finalised, a senior government source, not authorised to speak publicly, of course, said the overhaul would protect developers from objections to local councils if they agreed to a fixed proportion of affordable housing. The proportion was not yet decided, they said. I mean, yeah, this is great. It should not be up to individual VCAT members to untangle planning disputes affecting the future of Melbourne because local councils were failing to make tough planning decisions, the source said. Because councils either refuse to make hard decisions or because they are motivated by objections from existing residents, it has become VCAT's de facto job to plan Melbourne, the source said. It doesn't make sense that these quasi-judges are the ones making planning decisions when they don't make decisions on things like where services are located. The proportion of affordable housing required to qualify for the exemption was not disclosed. Well, they need to figure that out. With Melbourne set to overtake Sydney as Australia's largest city within a decade, Premier Daniel Andrews has warned that Melbourne cannot keep expanding on its fringes by building suburb after suburb. We need to create more housing with the best design standards where people want to live, he told the Sunday Age. Well, medium density, like this one here, this stuff, building this, is actually fantastic for the environment compared to building houses further out. You get more people living closer to amenities, closer to cities, closer to jobs. And I know we're all meant to be in a work-from-home world, but come on, let's see how that goes. You know, we can't all manage those 54 keystrokes an hour, guys. Come on now. This is good. And people object to it. The push to remove councils from decision-making for medium-density housing projects follows suggestions the government will strip local councils of some planning powers. It sets the government on a potential collision course with communities in Melbourne's leafy middle suburbs. VCAT recently overturned a decision by the city of Stonington to block a 4-story apartment building in Malvale East after council ignored a recommendation by its own planning officers that the permit be approved. As part of its reasoning, VCAT ruled that Melbourne is now at a critical point, requiring new housing in inner and middle suburbs to tackle an acute housing shortage. A block of 4-story apartment buildings. 4 stories. This 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, that is not imposing. That is not going to destroy the quality of life in your area. It's going to change it. It's not the end of the world. We need to look at European cities, how people lived. The proposal to build 29 2- and 3-bedroom apartments in Wattle Tree Road in Mulvaven East was unanimously rejected by council last December after councillors sided with residents. You know what? Let's get up Google Earth Pro. Oh, boy. I think I'm coming down with something. Little Eddie wound up in hospital with a croup. I think that's it, a wheezing cough. Because he's T21, he's more susceptible to it. I suspect something may be going through the family now. I'm going to pretend I'm not getting sick. I'm not allowed to. Not with these deadlines I've got on. So let's look up this. Wattle Road. Malvaven East. There we go. I'll jump over here. I mean, this is all running off my mobile phone because my internet's still buggered. So here we go. Let's have a look. Wattle Grove. Wattle Tree. No. That's not it. Okay, that's looks like a busy road there, like right near the sports field. So let's jump on. We'll zoom in there. So this is the street where they're looking to put 4 stories on. There you've got a 2-story. There you got a few more stories. I mean, look at this. It's a main road. You got a tram running down the middle. It's not going to change it that much, is it? This is a decent-sized road. Here, let's go. You've got the denser ones here. Let's see. I mean, what if they were putting it, worst case, right here in the lower density parts? I mean, yeah, look how wide the street is. It'll be fine. Look at these houses, though. Everyone has their own little manor estate. I think this is NIMBY land. You're in NIMBY country now. Insert Trump meme. Okay. There were 37 objections to the development, which is located in a residential area next to a tram line across the road from Central Park. Okay, wait. Oh. And I should let everyone know Eddie's fine now. Because he's T21 and low tone, he can sometimes be really susceptible to things like that. And that's why we're really lucky, actually. He hardly ever has to go to hospital. But sometimes you just got to take him in there so they can give him the drugs. Steroids, pretty much. So is it across from this? Is that Central Park, I'm assuming? Places? Yeah, okay. So it's here. Yeah, I mean, come on. Oh, there we go. It's probably there. I would bet a carton she's going there. 4 stories there. Why would you object to 4 stories here? Across the road from the footy field, you've got shops there. Why the hell would you object to that? What is wrong with these people? If anything, you want development up going in this street so you can. I mean, here we go. We've got another one coming up here. Or are these just posh houses? Oh, that's why. I'm not familiar with this area, but come on. You would think you could get a 4-story development there, and it would not be the end of the world. And it's not going to impact too much on the area. You've got a footy field. You could have young families living there. You take the kids over, they could have a play with a football. This is the problem we have with the NIMBY crowd. Okay? Many of the objections came from a neighbouring 3-story apartment block. Oh, you're kidding. That one we saw there. There's nothing of this height and magnitude in the area, said Mayor Jamie Glaris at the meeting when the proposal was blocked. The design is not in keeping with the area. It's quite modern, which I think would be a very harsh contrast. Oh, good Lord. Help us, please. This is just... Okay, let's jump out of Street View. Can we turn on 3D buildings? Is that going to work with my 5G internet? I mean, you kind of want to change things. You don't want to live in... Oh, yeah. Okay, 3D buildings aren't turning on. I don't think in this. We'll see if it loads up. Yeah, okay, but you can tell, can't you? It's just suburbia. It's Melbourne suburbia. However, VCAT member Michael Dindham overturned the council decision in June, stating that the application met Stonington Planning Scheme guidelines. He said that the development was an example of the battles being fought over housing in the inner suburbs of Melbourne. Yeah, this is insane. This is insane. Our city is at a critical point where new housing in inner and middle ring suburbs is required as one means of addressing an acute supply issue. While I appreciate that the housing proposed on the review site will not be affordable, it will nonetheless increase the overall supply of and access to housing in our city. While the objectors argue they represented the surrounding community, he said that he also needed to consider those who could not break into the Malvern East housing market in his decision, as well as future generations of Victorians. Yeah, that... It is this later... See, notice how... Well, it's the apartment living people in there, isn't it? It's not the people with the houses that are thinking, okay, yeah, go ahead, build. Every floor you get will be justification that'll help increase the value of my property and the neighbour's property. You know, the boomers who bought there for, what, 40 grand? Maybe less. I mean, you know, oh, we're retiring Queensland. Sell up. Boom. Oh. It is these later sectors of the community that will benefit the most from the provision of increased housing supply in this desirable and highly livable location. Rollo Wright, director of real estate developer firm Ralston, said he felt the proposal had little chance of being approved once nearby residents began raising objections, even though it had been supported by the council's planners. Why should people have this much power over land they don't own? Councillors have got that in one ear, and on the other hand, they need to decide whether to listen to their paid experts, he said. Resident groups have recently stopped development in Stonington, including a 6-story tower with 80 apartments proposed by Woolworths on Burke's Road in Glenellis. VCAT upheld the council's decision. Many residents have time and money to lobby councillors. He said the Wattle Tree Road building would primarily attract older downsizers who were leaving big family homes, freeing those properties up for younger buyers who want to live in the inner suburbs. It all contributes to affordability. It's supply and demand, he said. Yeah, it will. That's what will happen. The city of Stonington defended its decision-making, saying it had approved 97.4% of the planning applications in the past financial year, but how many of them are just, tick and flick houses? Council must assess each planning permit application on its merits. For apartment buildings, this often involves balancing policy that calls for increased density with the protection of residential amenity and character. Planning expert Marcus Spiller for SGS Economics and Planning said VCAT should stay out of broader planning policy questions. Well, the local planners in the council said it should happen. Shouldn't they have a say? Because bloody oath, they'd probably have less chance of being manipulated than the local council members, don't they? The policy content in planning, I think, should be strictly the preserve of elected people, he said. The role of VCAT is to resolve disputes in the interpretation of policy, not to make policy. Sure, I don't know if he... Well, it depends on the education of the elected people, I'd argue. You need to get planners there. They need to listen to the... If you want to densify, it's pretty simple. When asked about the plan to prevent locals from objecting to developments, a state government spokesperson said there would be announcements about housing in due course. We know there's no more important issues anywhere in the state right now than housing. That's why we're working hard on a housing package. A key part of the government's plan to tackle Victoria's growing plan will be to strip local councils of decision-making power. And we can go here, report by Victoria's Independent, into developer payments linked to KC Council. Yeah, well, that seems to be a common thing, isn't it? Well, guys, let's have a chat about this one. Well, if the Andrews government pulls this off, maybe this is the way forward. We need to remove local councils from having say on so many of these developments. And if residents want to control what happens in their surrounds, maybe they should all get together and buy all those properties and then turn it into like some museum. Sovereign Hill. And we could all come and have a look at the NIMBYs. You know, maybe pay $50 to see the NIMBYs and they'll all be standing there with their placards. What do you reckon? Let me know your thoughts on this one, guys. Have a great day. Check out Highs a bit more Highs it does. If you want to support us, you can with all the usual methods. I've got to go. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.